good afternoon, and welcome to this special Island Stat Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Bass, and joining me is the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Wade. I know you're extremely busy because of the Bermuda-Honduras match taking place tomorrow evening at the National Sports Center. But I did want to kind of pin you down a little bit to get some more information regarding the election to the Caribbean Football Union's Executive Committee that you were recently elected to. We often hear, we always hear about CONCACAF. Years ago, and I'm talking years ago, probably when you were lacing up boots to play, we often heard of CFU. Now we very rarely hear of CFU. What is the role of the CFU, and I guess now that you're on the executive committee?
Sure. So, hey, first of all, thanks for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity to just share, the sort of developments. Yep, it is a very busy time, but the CFU, it's no secret. The CFU had a period of upheaval, a period of corruption, and the CFU, along with CONCACAF, had to figure out how to come out of that, change protocols, and put policies and procedures in place, and also definitely repair the image of football here in our region, and certainly throughout the Caribbean. And so that process has been ongoing, and happy to see us evolve out of that. I won't say come out of it. I'll say that to evolve out of it. And the CFU really has to kind of retool, right? Because what we have at the CONCACAF level with the regional body is a slogan that we use is called One CONCACAF, which is everyone, right? All 41 nations. The CFU is a part of One CONCACAF. And now, at the CFU level, we have to now look at how can we help the Caribbean, smaller nations in the Caribbean, English, Dutch, and French-speaking and Spanish-speaking, to continue to improve and maybe find even more success on the football field.
Yeah, one of the challenges for the CFU in creating competition amongst each other is the calendar is so stacked right now, through CONCACAF and through FIFA, right from 13 through to seniors. Back again, I would go back to my earlier statement. Back when you were lacing up the boots, the calendar was you could almost throw a dart and hit a time, and you could play an international football match. But now it's more challenging. So we realized that recently CFU last year held two youth tournaments, right? A boys and a girls tournament. Was under 15, right?
Under 14 Challenge Series is what
it's called. Under 14 Challenge Series, right. So now fitting that into the schedule for a regular base, because it's a base for the smaller nations, like you said. Fitting that in, how challenging will that be once you guys get together to make sure that could actually be something we can put down and say, okay, this is going to be the starting point for CFU?
Sure, I think that actual slot has been filled, right, and that avenue is kind of solid because we alternate boys and girls. So this year will be CFU Girls Challenge. While the boys will be playing the CONCACAF Under 15 Championships, and next year it'll switch around the other way. So the CFU Challenge Series has found its feet, and it's doing very well under that particular format. What we'll be looking at is what other gaps are there in the competition ecosystem that we can fill through the CFU. So potentially, can we feel something at under 23? Can we maybe help, because the under 17 is every year now? Is there a way that we can help under 17 World Cup qualifiers? So there's maybe some opportunity there that we'll look at, of course. But it's also not just on the field of play with competition. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's other areas where the CFU can kind of jump in and augment what CONCACAF is doing. So, what can we do in terms of referee development? Is there any more that we can do? What can we do to augment and supplement the CONCACAF executive mentorship program? So there's a couple things that I think the new executive will discuss and see where we can kind of complement what's happening within CONCACAF and one CONCACAF.
Sure. What was encouraging for you personally, and I guess for the Bermuda Football Association, that came out of the CONCACAF General Assembly meeting?
Well, I mean, it's kind of business as usual, to be honest. The CONCACAF are for all intents and purposes are doing very well in terms of male and female competition. CONCACAF Nations League that's been launched, the CONCACAF Shield, or what is our Champions League, both male and female coming soon. What was the big takeaway was the announcement from FIFA that there will be some adjustments to the FIFA forward statutes. You may be or may not be aware there's some criteria that every country has to meet in order to be able to get certain financial benefits. And some of these criteria were very difficult for smaller countries. And there was a initiative led by initially by the president of Turks and Caicos to have FIFA to have a look at that. And through the support of the Caribbean Football Union and ultimately CONCACAF, that initiative was taken to the FIFA Council. And some amendments were being made whereby we can now resubmit and also make a case for why we couldn't make a certain criteria. So, I mean, one of the examples is your youth international teams have to play 4 games in a year. And if you're in a group of 3 in the one competition you play, you're going to get 3 games if you don't make it out of the group stage, right? So that was one of them. That was very challenging. Others for small nations such as us, one of the criteria that we didn't make was in the women's league, which has to have a certain amount of games and a certain amount of teams. And so, that was difficult. And the representation that was made was, what do we do with smaller nations who don't have the population to be able to meet the criteria? But have made some steps forward. How can you incentivize them to continue their progress? So there's a couple of examples of the criteria that was difficult, and we're happy that, led by a CFU president and our region, that we managed to get a change in the FIFA forward regulations for the entire world. So we're still over here. The smaller nations still over here punching above our weight administratively, right? So, we obviously, we're very proud of what can be achieved by smaller nations on the administrative side, and now we want to see what we can do, obviously, on the field of play.
Sure. Now, one of the things that I've noticed over the years, and you alluded to it, the negative side of what took place, CFU, CONCACAF, FIFA itself. From the inside, because we always hear people talking from the outside. From the inside, has FIFA, CONCACAF, CFU landed on their feet yet from all that back years ago?
I would say from that particular controversy, which was global, the eyes of the world were on FIFA. I think yes, definitely, CONCACAF and the CFU have landed on its feet, and there have been reforms to help so those things don't happen again. We still have to be forever vigilant because there's football's a global game with many players, with any number of characteristics and personalities. Some good and some not so good. So we always have to be vigilant. But I think yes, CFU and CONCACAF have landed on its feet. I think FIFA has as well. And you can move on to different controversies, but from that particular one where FIFA was on the cusp, let's be honest, on the cusp, and so was CONCACAF, on the cusp of being called a criminal organization.
Yeah.
And, fortunately, FIFA and CONCACAF and the CFU were able to prove that the organization isn't a criminal organization. There were criminal individuals running the organization. So, yes, I think definitely. Still in some areas, just trying to repair some reputational damage. But overall, I think with the changes in statutes and the ethics committee and those sort of things, and we see more and more people still being prosecuted and investigated ethics violations. I think that will continue as we continue to be vigilant on those sort of things.
Sure. When you left Bermuda heading to the Congress, did you have any idea that you would, or you wanted a position on the CFU executive committee?
So it was all a bit cloak and dagger to a certain degree, but basically what happened was I was invited to be a part of the slate of the president, Mr. Lyndon Cooper. And, he and I we talked. This was more of a 6-month process where he and I talked about what his views were and what his vision was for the CFU. He talked about who would be on the slate and who would be on the team. So it did interest me about what is it that we can offer to help improve the Caribbean. And I was happy with the slate of individuals that he was going to be approaching and who he had already approached. So the rest, I guess the rest is history, where we were all elected unopposed on a slate. So I was aware that we would be elected through acclamation.
Okay. All right. Cool. Now, obviously, you said you've been talking for 6 months. Any way you can kind of give us a heads up of what the first 6 months will look like, or what the attempt in the first 6 months will look like? Because obviously he's got to dangle that carrot for you to be interested.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to steal the president's thunder. If you were listening carefully, you did hear of some of the things that I thought that we might do. So I won't steal his thunder. We'll have our first executive meeting official. We did have a brief little chat, after the election, but we'll have our first executive meeting. I'm sure shortly thereafter there will be, a press release and what we intend on doing.
Okay. Now, most of your meetings will be done remotely, I would take it.
Yes, we have fantastic technology these days. We have Zoom, we have StreamYard, we have any WebEx. We could go on. Very, very good tool. And yes, we'll probably be meeting, especially initially, quite often via Zoom. But we're certainly going to take the opportunities to meet when CONCACAF and FIFA get together. We'll take the opportunity to steal an hour or two to meet with the rest of the CFU as well.
Yeah. Now, will or does CFU have subcommittees just as CONCACAF and FIFA have?
Yes, they do, and they have a football development committee. They have a women's committee. There's a referee committee. So there's a few standing committees, which we're obviously going to have a look at and decide, whether there's any changes there, or we keep going with a steady ship. And again, that's going to be at the pleasure of the president.
Okay, so we just have to keep our ears open for CFU developments in the coming, even more now, because it actually because we have someone on the executive. Before we were always looking, but we didn't have that extra involvement, and now we have that. Where I think those countries that have people, as well as all the nations within CFU, should be kept up to speed on what's going on. I noted the last few years, I guess during the rebuilding stage, very little information was coming out to the public regarding CFU. Can you see that change?
Oh, absolutely. That I can say that without reservation. That's one of the things that we really want to improve is the communication, information about what the CFU is doing, and for us we also have to have what I'm going to say a regional goal. We've got to be able to celebrate whenever a team out of this region does well at the World Cup level. And I'll say it here that the ultimate goal for me would be to have a CFU nation in the quarter or semifinals of a World Cup, without a doubt. That's why we're here. That's why we play this game, right? We want to be at the World Cup level. So there's nothing wrong with having that type of goal, and that's my personal target and vision that I'll be trying to see how we can help through the CFU.
Yeah. Now we all know that this summer FIFA have a major tournament coming up in the US. It's kind of like a prelim to the World Cup. But it's clubs, it's not countries, it's clubs. But what type of role does CFU play in the makeup of, because our region's hosting the World Cup along with CONCACAF? What type of role does CFU play in the preparation for the countries and making sure everybody's got everything and support?
Sure. Generally speaking, the support will be sort of match operations. So we have a number of persons out of CFU nations who are venue managers, venue coordinators, match commissioners, security officers, etc., who will have a role to play in the Gold Cup as well as the Club World Cup, and they'll be looking to prove themselves, so to speak. Yes. To see if they can now be involved at the FIFA World Cup in the next year. So it's not only on the field, there's off the field competition for spaces. Because obviously, we want the best of the best to be even at the World Cup administratively. So yeah, definitely.
So for some people, it's not a summer off. Although football won't be played in Bermuda, it's not a summer off for some people, administrative wise. Going to be action packed.
Definitely not. Yeah, it'll be action packed. But this is what we want. We want to be playing football. We want it to be as close as possible to us. So here we are. We've got football in our region over the next 2 years. It's going to be a wild ride, and I hope everybody's ready to enjoy it.
Sure. Now, yesterday was released about the 3 clubs getting the licenses. Big moment, because it's not something that I mean, you've been talking about club licensing for the last 5 years maybe. How is that process going for football island wide? How are we making out with that?
So it was we you may recall we did it I feel like 3 years ago. We did club licensing. Was more, I'm going to call it a practice run.
Right.
where we took clubs through the process of these are the criteria, and this is what you need to be able to meet the criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Type of structures you need to put in place. We even had a recommended technical structure for clubs, and we had a number of seminars to help them. And so we fast forward to today, where now, as I said it with coach licensing, at some point rubber has to hit the road, which is what happened throughout last year. The club licensing process is arduous. It is there is quite a number of criteria that is best practice and best practice for volunteer organizations. And so happy to see the three that you made it over the line. But what was even more encouraging is how close everyone else was. So it wasn't really like a case where you were so far away, but to see how close everyone else was is very encouraging, and we expect quite a number to make it over the line next year.
I'm glad you said volunteer, because I understand what FIFA is attempted to do, as well as CONCACAF, as far as the club licenses and so forth. But a lot of the organizations that they mandate and operate under are professional or semi-professional, where they have full-time people, where the smaller countries struggle because we have people doing this for the love of the club, for the love of the sport. It's you know what I mean?
It's interesting, and what the CFU and CONCACAF have managed to do is separate the competition, right? The club competitions,
right,
where we have an amateur competition, which is the Caribbean Shield, and then we have another competition for professional clubs. And you can certainly qualify to play with the professional clubs if you meet certain club licensing criteria.
Right.
So it does have an impact on the field of play as well. But it's another target, right? Football. I said it before. Football is a cruel game, in that you make it so far, and then you move on, and the goalpost is moved. So you make it. You make it into the Gold Cup, and then you gotta try and get into the round of 16, or you gotta get into the semifinals. There's always something else,
right?
So even administrative, the same thing, where you gonna get a club license, local club license. Now the next step is to get a club license from CONCACAF, which the local club license gets you a little closer, and then from there on, there's the opportunity to play actual competition against professional clubs. And for those who have been following the CONCACAF club competition, you saw team from Jamaica do very well.
Yes.
Against Miami FC, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, there's a target, right? There's a target for our clubs,
right?
Who can replicate the success of Dandytown, Somerset, North Village, and ultimately PHC. We can do that.
Right.
And you got to have the administrative weight behind you to get there, because the game's changed quite a bit.
Yeah. When you talk about goalpost move, we've seen that goalpost move with what you do with the referees, chairman. So.
Yep.
Even that. You keep drawing stuff up in pencil so you can rub it out.
There you go. But that's something that we're still celebrating. Right? We're still celebrating. We have a full team of match officials on the FIFA list.
Sure.
But I moved the goalposts, of course.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to win the World Cup, so we still got work to do.
Sure, without a doubt. Yeah, but we're heading in the right direction. I tell you that. It's definitely in the right direction.
Sure.
Let's turn our attention to tomorrow, because obviously you and your committee have work to do, setting up everything for the match tomorrow evening. just knowing, well, Honduras would have arrived last night, having had a training camp in the U.S., played Guatemala over the weekend. But how is things shaping up for Bermuda? And I guess having, being at home, and we're at the National Sports Center training on a daily basis, probably twice a day now. But how are things shaping up administration wise for tomorrow evening's game?
Administration wise, we're on target, right? If the stadiums, the stadium is actually ready, all the field boards are up, and the visiting match officials are diligently going through their processes. They've done their team arrival meetings. They had the MCM this morning. Sorry, match coordination meeting. Sorry.
Yeah. I know what you meant.
match coordination.
Thank you for clarifying it.
Yeah. They've had that this morning. One thing that the Bermudian public may not really comprehend is that these are the Gold Cup prelims. And the last time you played in the prelims were hosted in Miami FC Stadium overseas.
Yeah. Right.
And so this is a whole another level of exposure. You just see just from the field boards, the National Sports Center, the field boards are all the way around the pitch versus the 2 or 3 that we usually have, right? The exposure for Bermuda is going to be that much bigger, and the exposure for our players is bigger as well. We're playing the number 7 ranked team in CONCACAF, and I had an interview the other day when we were talking about the under 17 girls, and we were saying that yes, football is a cruel game. So you think you've done well, you made it into the prelims, but now you're playing, the number 7 team ranked in CONCACAF. So yeah, the goalposts got moved, but this is where we want to be. We want to be competing against teams that are higher than us. We want to be, looking close enough to see the pinnacle. We want to be competing for regional competition, and we want to be competing to make it into the World Cup. And this is where it is. This is where it's at, right? This is where it's at. So I know the boys are comfortable in the hotel. They're training daily. They got a session in another 45 minutes or so. A couple new faces. It's just goes to show that the coaches are running the rule over a number of players. Bring some attention to our little invitational with Rhode Island FC and Portland Hearts of Pine, where some of our local players really caught the eye of the coaching staff. So yeah, it's all coming together quite nicely. But we got to get it done on the field of play. So we can make all the arrangements we want, but it's got to be done on the field of play, and it's going to be up to the players. So we'll give them the platform, and we'll be there to cheer them on.
Sure. But on the administration side, tomorrow's not the only big event, because in a week's time you have the under 17 girls. You talk about a monumental task. They go up against the number 2 team in the region in their prelims.
Exactly. So yeah, we change gears and we move on, right? And we're excited for them to be playing at the level again where we want to be. And I look out over the training pitch, and they're out there doing their thing. So we're working to get that all buttoned down. Travel, make sure we've got the team that coach wants. Just shoring up the coaching staff. Those who need to be released from their employers. Let me just say this, and I don't think we say it enough. We're very, very, very grateful to corporate Bermuda for releasing their staff, right, to go and work in the dream, working for, and even allowing certain players off. I don't think we acknowledge that enough, and I want to say that here, that we definitely appreciate it.
Definitely. All right. Well, sir, I want to thank you very much for your time. Get back to work.
Sure.
Maybe what color we wearing tomorrow? Because people's been asking me. So I mean, what color we wearing?
Stay on the social media, but we should be in pink and pink.
Okay. All right. Just, I mean, yes, because people want to get, they want to.
I know they want to
show out.
They want to show up and show out. Yeah, we'll be in pink and pink. Unless something different happened in the MCM this morning, I don't think it did. So we'll see you. You'll see you in your pink. Pink's always a see.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir, and good luck on the CFU Executive Committee. Next step is CONCACAF Committee, and then FIFA Committee. Like you said, we have to keep growing. We have to keep going up. We can't just stay stagnant. So, yeah. All right. Well, all the best tomorrow, and of course for the men's senior team tomorrow and Tuesday, and then obviously for the under-17 women's team that traveled to Mexico next week, right? Yeah, next week. 29th. Yeah. As they head off to Mexico for their preliminaries as well. So, thank you, sir. Good luck, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.